From going incredible distances to doing the seemingly impossible just to reach their owners, I'm Bob from World 5 List. Join me as I reveal 8 pets that returned home after being lost. Number 8. Who's talking now? Now here's a story about a parrot named Nigel. Nigel was owned by a British man named Darren, and Darren lived in California. Like any parrot owner, Darren taught Nigel how to talk, and to my surprise, the parrot actually learned how to talk with a British accent. Talk about picking up dialects. Anyway, in 2010, Nigel flew away and never came back. Somehow, the bird was caught and sold at a yard sale for $400. The Smith family didn't seem to mind and didn't seem to care where Nigel came from. The grandfather of the Smith family, whose name was Reuben, especially liked the bird, who they had named Morgan. By the way, who sells a bird at a yard sale anyway? 4 years went by, and eventually the bird flew away once again, and upon being found, was taken to the vet where a microchip was located, stating that the bird belonged to Darren. The whole time, Nigel had a microchip. However, the good news is that Morgan, or Nigel, or whatever you call him, returned to Darren, but with a twist. The bird now spoke fluent Spanish. The tale of Nigel made the news, and the Smith family saw it, contacting Darren to let him know what had happened. Touched by the story, Darren then let the Smith family have him back. Number 7. One tough dog. Sometimes dog and owner are separated in the worst of possible ways, making their return even more special. Such was the journey of Tough, a dog who was literally stolen from his owner. Apparently, while his owner went to a saloon to have a good time, he made sure that his dog was tied, in the proper way, to the bed of his truck. And that's when someone decided to break Tough out and take him for themselves. Once discovered missing, his owner, Chris Jackson, and Chris's girlfriend then put up flyers for the dog, and to their credit, they did get some hits, but the dog was never found. Here's the kicker though. Despite being 20 miles away from his home when he was taken, Tough was found only 3 miles away. The poor dog had probably escaped and was clearly on a path to make it back home on his own 4 feet. What's even more incredible is that Tough apparently even crossed a river to get back home, and the family was finally reunited. Number 6. A round-trip cat. But first, if you're new here, be sure you're subscribed, and let me know about your pet stories in the comments below. Taking a pet with you on a trip can end badly, but that doesn't mean that leaving them home alone is any better. In 2009, a woman by the name of Robin Alex went from Albuquerque to New Orleans to do a build for Habitat for Humanity. However, when she returned home, her cat Charles was nowhere to be found. Fast forward 8 months, and an animal control center in Chicago called her to let her know that Charles had been located. Now, how he ended up 1,300 miles away is anyone's guess, and the owner still doesn't know how it happened. But there was a problem. Charles was set to be euthanized in just 6 days if she couldn't pick him up. When she tried to get a round-trip ticket to fly to Chicago, there were none to be had. So that's when she did the only thing she could and went on her local news station for help. Her plea then reached the ears of Albuquerque resident Lucene Sims, who was on his way to a Chicago wedding and offered to help her out. He picked up the cat and wasn't even charged by American Airlines to fly him home. Lucene brought Charles back to Robin, and the rest is history. Seriously though, how did the cat get to Chicago? I mean, I know their pizza's good, but not that good. Number 5. CRAIGSLIST horse. In San Antonio, Texas, a woman by the name of Michelle Poole was set to have back surgery, and she had a prized horse named Opie and wanted to make sure that he was taken good care of. But moving him to where she would be while she recovered would be expensive. That's when she asked her father to look after the horse, but the problem was her father didn't have a stable, so he let the horse run around in an area with a simple wire fence. Enter the thief, who then snipped the fence, took the horse, and drove away. When Michelle found out, she then reported it to a group that specializes in finding stolen horses, and 10 years after the report, Opie was finally found. End of the story? Well, not so much, because the person who found Opie was a pastor, one who claimed to have found Opie on the side of the road and decided to sell him on Craigslist. I'm not kidding. Well, a woman saw the listing and looked at the horse and realized that she had seen Opie's markings before. She found the stolen horse report and called the authorities. Being Texas, authorities then hired some cowboys to go to the pastor's house to get the horse back, and that's exactly what they did. While there wasn't enough evidence to convict the pastor of the original theft, and 10 years is a lot of time for a horse to change hands, no charges were filed. But given that Opie and Michelle were reunited, it's likely not a bother. Number 4. A tortoise in a box. Now I know what you're thinking, how does one exactly lose a tortoise? Yeah, it's actually a pretty good question. In 1982, that's exactly what happened when the Almeida family found out that their beloved pet tortoise, Manuela, was missing. Now, before you judge, there is a reason that the family lost their tortoise. They were having renovations done to their family home in Rio de Janeiro, and workers had left the front door open so they could go in and out more easily. When the work was complete, the tortoise was gone, and this was the reason they believed that Manuela had disappeared. The truth, though, was much more shocking, because fast forward not 10 years, not 20 years, but 30 years, the children of the Almeida home were cleaning out their parents' house, and among the cleaning duties was a storage room. And as they were cleaning out the storage room, they looked into a box and then found Manuela, and Manuela was very much alive. So how exactly did the tortoise last 30 years in a box? Well, tortoises have naturally long lives, and for this one, its particular species being the red-footed tortoise, they have the ability to not eat for 2 to 3 years. And when it did need to eat, there were apparently termites all over the storage room. The lesson here is that when you're putting stuff away, make sure you know exactly what you're putting away. Number 3, moonlit journey. On a more personal note, I did used to have a Siberian Husky and lost my dog a lot of times because they're known to be very mischievous and run off. But nothing compares to what Doug Dashel went through when he lost his Siberian Husky, Moon. Dashel was the owner of 3 Huskies. What a nightmare. And one day he took them on a little trip. Being a good owner, he decided to give them a chance to do their natural business, and when he did, Moon rushed into the surrounding area and disappeared. Dashel tried to find Moon, but had no luck. Fortunately, though, Moon would eventually return, going on a 77-mile trek to get back to Dashel and his home in Ely, Nevada. The reason that this one is so high, aside from my love of Huskies, is that Moon had to travel through the desert, across a river, and weave through a mountain range. That's a very long and arduous 77 miles. Even more, Moon had to live off the land as she did the journey, and she did so swimmingly, for according to her owner, she reeked of skunk when she finally returned. Still, no matter what she smelled like, all that matters is that she made it home. Number 2, a prince among soldiers. A lot of things can create distance between owners and pets. One of the worst is war. Well, while war can help define the men and women who fight in it, one dog proved that it can bring out the best. This is the tale of an Irish terrier named Prince, who was owned by a soldier named James Brown. Not that James Brown, a different James Brown, one who lived in England and would be a private in the army during World War I. Interestingly enough, though, Brown was one of the first people that was deployed in the war against Germany, being sent to France along with many other men, and though his family took his deployment hard, Prince took it even harder. In fact, the dog took it so hard that one day he just straight up left, and made the family even more distraught. Brown's wife wrote to him during the war to warn him about the dog's disappearance, but little did she know that when Brown got the letter, he also found Prince because he was with his unit in France. Now, before I continue, there's one key detail about England and France. There's a body of water between them called the English Channel, a channel that some human swimmers even have a problem getting across. Yet the dog apparently swam the channel, went to France, and found his owner, which is bonkers. Now you may be wondering at this point, what did Prince do once he got there? Well, they dressed him up in a cute little puppy uniform and attached a bazooka to him, of course. No, I'm just kidding. He actually became the mascot of Brown's unit and was used to deliver messages to other soldiers during battle. Now, if this doesn't prove the loyalty or awesomeness of a dog, I don't think that anything will. Number 1, I would walk 200 miles. So what's better than all the other animal stories that I've put here? How about a cat feeling so loyal to their owner they'd walk 200 miles to get home? Anyone else having homeward bound memories here? Anyway, Holly was a cat that was with her owners for over a year of traveling. But when a fireworks incident would scare her, she bolted. The owners would spend days trying to find her, but to no avail, so they did the only thing they could and had to do and went back home. Apparently, though, so did the cat, taking just a little longer than the people. Holly, following what must have been instinct, walked 200 miles in 2 months and actually ended up in a town where her owners were, of West Palm Beach, Florida. She wasn't found by them, though. Rather, she was found by an assistant at the nearby university who noticed the cat barely alive. The woman, whose name was Barb, then nursed the cat back to health and eventually took her to the vet for a checkup, where the vet noted there was no doubt the cat had walked all the way home. Her paws were torn up and she had lost a good deal of weight. And much like Nigel the parrot, there was a microchip letting them know who the owners were. Thanks for watching. Which of these stories was your favorite, and have you ever had something like this happen to you with your pet? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Be sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time on World 5.